Hello everyone. Today I will be discussing conventional software management approach, the risks involved, and the improvements that were suggested. When we talk of software, the best thing about is its flexibility. That is, it can be programmed to do almost anything. Well, the worst thing also is flexibility. Since we expect it to do almost anything, it is difficult to plan, monitor, and control software development. When we talk of software development, the experiences tell us that development is highly unpredictable. That is, only 10% of the projects are able to finish on time and within budget. Management discipline is more of a discriminator in success or failure than our technology advances. And the level of software scrap and rework is a clear indication of how immature a process is. We are talking about conventional software management, hence we have to revisit waterfall model. Remember, there are two essential steps common to the development of computer programs, that is analysis and coding. To assist analysis and coding, many overhead activities like system requirement definition, software requirement definition, program design, and testing are undertaken. Waterfall model is risky as testing is done at the end of the development cycle and the resulting design changes may be disruptive. There were 5 improvements which were suggested for the waterfall model to work. The first was that the preliminary program design should be made between software requirement generation phase and the analysis phase, as well as before coding begins. The storage, timing, and operational constraints problem can be taken care of if this is done. The second improvement was to maintain current and complete documentation of the design. This was important because the designer must communicate with other designers, customers, managers. During early phases, the documentation also serves as design, and it was important during modification of the software. The third suggestion was to do the job twice if possible. This meant that one should try to make a prototype to identify trouble spots and model alternatives and then deploy the second version. The fourth suggestion was to plan, control, and monitor testing. Testing is the phase of greatest risk in terms of cost and schedule. So, one must employ test specialists who were not responsible for the original design, try to employ visual inspections, test every logical path, and finally check on the target computer. The last suggestion was to involve the customer. It was important because we wanted their judgment, insight, as well as their commitment to use the software. Well, we all know that the waterfall model uses the following steps. That is, the system requirements followed by software requirements, the analysis phase, program design phase, coding, testing, and finally the maintenance. There were many drawbacks associated with waterfall model, and in the next few slides we are going to discuss these drawbacks. Protracted integration and late design breakage was one of the drawbacks of waterfall model. The following sequence was common. Early success through paper designs and thorough briefings. Commitment to code was late in the life cycle. One experienced integration nightmares due to unforeseen implementation issues and interface ambiguities. Heavy budget and schedule pressure was there to get the system working. Since testing was done at much later stage, there was late shoehoming of no optimal fixes with no time for redesign, and a very fragile, unmentionable product was delivered, and that too was late in schedule. So typical progress profile, if seen, you will find that there were lot of problems very late in the life cycle. So if we see the expenditures which was incurred during conventional projects, you'll find that most of the expenditure was concentrated to coding, testing, and integration as compared to other activities like management, requirements, design phase, deployment, and environment setting. The second drawback of waterfall model was late risk resolution. It was a serious issue, and the figure on the next slide illustrates a typical risk profile for conventional waterfall projects. It includes 4 distinct periods of risk exposure, where risk is defined as the probability of missing a cost, schedule, feature, or a quality goal. And early in the life cycle, as the requirements were being specified, the actual risk exposure was highly unpredictable. So if we see this diagram, we'll find that the risks were not properly found out and taken care of during the early stages of the development. The risks actually came into focus during testing phase, and this definitely created problems. The third drawback was requirement driven functional decomposition. This approach depends on specifying requirements completely and unambiguously before other development activities begin. It naively treats all requirements as equally important and depends on those requirements which remain constant over the software development lifecycle. Well, these conditions rarely occur in the real world. Specification of requirements is a difficult thing, and it is supposed to be the most important part of software development process. Another drawback was adversarial stakeholder relationships. The conventional process tended to result into strained relationships between the clients and the developers because of the difficulties of requirement specification and the exchange of information. This was solely because most of the thing was on paper and in ad hoc format. So a format or a draft was delivered to the customer. The customer was supposed to go through it and give his or her opinion. Normally what happened was the customer could not actually go through the document in the specified time and would write whatever little he understood and signed the contract, which later on created problems. Another problem was that the focus was on document and review meetings. Well, the expected results were very different from the real results. When these review meetings were held, the audiences comprised of clients, end users, along with analysts, designers, coders, and testers. So only a small percentage of audience could actually understand the software. The design could not give us an evidence of whether it was actually following the rules or was compliant or not. The problems, if detected, were taken care of. If not, the design was supposed to be good. Boehm came up with some very interesting observations. According to him, fixing after delivery costs 100 times more as compared to fixing an error early during life cycle. One can compress the schedule by maximum 25%, but not more. For those who were thinking that if we double the number of people working on a project, it would help us compress the schedule by 50%, bad news for them, as lot of people meant more communication and more overhead activities. According to him, the amount you spent on development, one will have to spend double of that on maintenance. Costs are primarily a function of source lines of code, and hence most of the cost models dependent upon the size of the project. The variations among people account for the biggest differences in their productivity. Ratio of software to hardware cost is 85:15 and is still growing. Only about 15% of the software development cost is due to programming. Very contrary to what we think. According to most of us, coding is the most difficult part and is the most time-taking part of software development. But it is not so. Software systems cost 3 times as much as software programs, and software system products cost 9 times as much. Walkthroughs help us to catch 60% of the errors, and the last observation was that 80% of the contribution comes from 20% of the contributors. This was as it is one of the 80-20 rules. There are many such things like 80% of the engineering is consumed by 20% of the requirements. That is, only 20% things in your software requirement sheet takes 80% of the time. 80% of the software cost is consumed by 20% of the components. 80% of the errors are caused by 20% of the components. 80% of software scrap and rework is caused by 20% of the errors. 80% of the resources are consumed by 20% of the components. 80% of the engineering is accomplished with the help of 20% of the case tools. And 80% of the progress is made by only 20% of the people. Before we wrap up, let us summarize. Conventional software development process today is unreliable and immature. The waterfall method needs improvements to work satisfactorily, and conventional practices provide a benchmark for future improvements and changes to software development methods. I hope at the end of this, you now know what is conventional software development management, what are the risks involved, and what improvements were suggested. Do like and subscribe my channel for further updates. Thank you.